Welcome to Joy Recovery Radio. In this space, we talk about betrayal, recovery, and relational harm through the lens of integrity, accountability, and trauma-informed care. Our goal is not to rush healing or prescribe outcomes, but to offer language, clarity, and grounded perspective. This podcast is educational. You're invited to listen slowly, take what resonates, and leave the rest. Let's begin.
I'm going to start this episode by saying something that's going to sound counterintuitive, especially to the men listening. Almost everyone in this conversation has been misreading the same thing. Most of you have heard the word hypervigilance used to describe what is happening in a betrayed partner's body and mind in the months and years after discovery. You've heard it in support groups. You've heard it from coaches, therapists. You've heard it from your partner. You've probably used the word yourself. And you've heard it used almost always as if it were a symptom, something that signals dysfunction, something that needs to be calmed down, talked out of, or soothed away, something that gets in the way of recovery, something that ideally diminishes as things get better. I want to suggest today that almost every piece of that understanding is wrong. Her hypervigilance is not dysfunction. It is, however, information. In fact, it is the most accurate instrument in the recovery room. And the work, particularly the work that I want to talk to the men about today, is to learn how to read what that information is actually saying to you. If you're a betrayed partner listening, this episode is going to be about you and for you in certain places. What I will do is identify what your vigilance actually is, why it's appropriate, and how I want the men in the audience to receive it from now on. If you're a man listening, this is the episode that I want you to listen to twice. Let's start with the word itself, hypervigilance. In most clinical context, that word gets used to describe an overactive threat detection system. The hyper, that means too much, too sensitive. It's too alert. And inside most therapeutic frameworks, the treatment goal is to reduce the hypervigilance, to help the person move past the trauma response so life can return to something that looks like normal again. That framing makes sense when the original threat is over. For example, if someone survives a car accident and they still flinch at every car horn a year later, the accident is in the past. The horn is not the accident. Your threat detection is overshooting reality, and so we need to work to recalibrate it. Here's the problem with applying that logic to what we're talking about today. For a betrayed partner who has discovered that her husband has been operating a secret sexual basement, her threat detection system is not overshooting reality. It is reading reality correctly for the first time in a long time. Her vigilance is not too much. It's not hyper. The deception was too much. Her vigilance is not overshooting reality. It is reading the new reality, which now includes the secret basement, and it's reading it accurately. This changes what we do with vigilance entirely. Inside the old frame, vigilance is the problem, and the goal is to reduce it. Inside the frame that I am suggesting today, vigilance is not the problem, it's information. And the goal is to listen to what is it saying, to build a life and a relationship that responds to it accurately, and to let her system recalibrate when and only when the conditions that produced it have actually changed. Her vigilance is not the problem to solve, men. The deception that produced that vigilance is the problem to solve. And until that has happened, and it is full, and it is observable over time by her, then her vigilance is doing exactly what it was designed to do and what it should do. Men, I want you to sit with that for a moment. One more thing before we move. The vigilance that we're talking about that she has, that did not begin when she discovered the basement. For most betrayed partners, it began long before that. It began as a very mild signal of something being off during the years of the deception, before discovery. She had a sense that the version of him that she was being shown did not quite match the version she was sometimes catching glimpses of. She had a body response to certain phone behaviors or certain absences or certain tones that he would use. And in most of those years, she was told by him that the signal was her own anxiety. She was being insecure. She was imagining things. She needed to work on her jealousy. She had trust issues, or it was trauma from her past. Either way, she suppressed the signal. She learned to argue with her own body. But then at discovery, her signal was vindicated. Everything her body had been telling her for years turned out to be true. So now, her system is doing two things at once. It is reading the new reality, and it is also refusing to be overridden ever again by you. Both of those responses are appropriate. Neither one of those is pathology. What we are calling, quote, hypervigilance is not a malfunction. It's a system that has earned the right to watch you. And it is unwilling to be talked out of watching by the same dynamics that talked it out of watching the first time. I do want to address the betrayed partners listening directly for a few moments. And then I want to spend the bulk of this episode with the men. Betrayed partners, you've probably been told that your reactions are too much. You're being controlling. You're not letting him recover. You need to manage your anxiety better. You need to work on your hypervigilance. And some of you have started to believe that. I want to say something really gently. After discovery, when reality finally matched what your body had been telling you for years, your system did not relax. It did the total opposite. It said, now I'm going to watch everything. And what I'm saying is, that's appropriate. I'm going to say it again, because you don't hear it enough. That is appropriate. In the Minwalla framework, what we call the PRE, the pre-existing reality, that is the version of your life that you believed was real the whole time. And that version was based partly on truth and partly on information that he allowed you to see. When the secret basement was discovered, your sense of what was real shattered. That's called reality ego fragmentation, REF. That is the psychological injury. After that injury, your nervous system just has one job. It is trying to reconstruct a reliable map of what is real. And it cannot do that with the old data, because the old data was partly false. So what is it doing? It's gathering new data constantly, all the time, from everything. His tone, his phone, and everything in between. The way he says that he had to work late, the exact wording he uses when he tells you where he is right now, what time he came home last Thursday, whether the new behavior holds when he's tired, whether his new behavior holds when no one's watching. This is a person trying to build a new map using the only instrument that she has left, her own perception. So of course it's hyperactive. And of course it's exhausting. It's doing the work that he made necessary. And on that exhaustion that you are experiencing, the depletion is real. It is the cost of being the only person in your relationship for a long time who was reading reality accurately. So if you're tempted to see your exhaustion as evidence that you're doing recovery wrong, that if you were healing properly, you would feel less depleted, that's actually backwards. Your depletion is appropriate to the load that you're carrying.
Do you want to go deeper with teaching like what you're hearing today? That's why we created the Joy Recovery Academy. The Academy is our flagship educational space, designed to help you make sense of betrayal trauma, integrity abuse, and what real recovery actually looks like. This is where clarity replaces confusion and where you finally get a map before anyone tells you where to go. The Academy includes live teaching twice a week, a growing on-demand library, and hundreds of the same tools we use with our private coaching clients. Right now, you can get the first 7 days free, so you can check it out and see if it is what you're looking for. Go to joy-recovery.com, click Academy, and join us today.
Now I want to talk to the men, and I'm going to be direct. I'm not going to soften this. I'm not here to protect your comfort. Most of you have been operating under one of two frames when it comes to your partner's vigilance. The first frame is this: her vigilance is a problem that you have to manage. The second frame is this: her vigilance is a problem that you have to wait out. Both of those frames are wrong, and they are wrong in the same way. You are treating her nervous system as an obstacle to your recovery. Let's reframe it, and I want you to hold this. Her vigilance is not an obstacle to your recovery. It is the most accurate diagnostic instrument that you have access to right now. It is a mirror. And if you learn to read it, it will tell you things about your own recovery, about your own integrity. Let me tell you what her system is actually doing. Your partner's nervous system is doing something extraordinary right now. It is reading you constantly. It's reading your eye contact. It's reading the timestamps on your text messages. It's reading the consistency or lack of consistency between what you said yesterday and what you said today. Her system is reading whether your behavior shifts when you're tired, whether your behavior shifts when she's not in the room. Her system is reading whether your transparency lasts longer than 3 months. It's reading all of this all the time, whether you want it to or not. It's doing what it should do. Here's what I want you to understand, men. It's reading correctly more often than you read yourself correctly. Because you and I, by definition, spent years in self-deception. We spent years, if not decades, operating a system that was designed to keep you from seeing yourself accurately. Her instrument is not corrupted by that history in the same way. In fact, her instrument has been sensitized by it. Men, let me put it bluntly with you. Most of you, when you were operating the deception, you developed a remarkable capacity for self-deception. You had to. The system required you to compartmentalize, to rationalize, to not see what you were doing while you were doing it. That capacity does not disappear just because you had a disclosure. It's still there. And it's still your default. What that means is this: for a while, you are going to be the least reliable narrator of your own life. You're not going to notice the small inconsistencies in your own behavior. You're not going to track the subtle ways that your tone shifts in certain situations. You're not going to catch the moments when your image management system quietly shows up. But your partner will. She's going to catch all of it because her system has been calibrated by years of catching exactly that. The fact that she's catching it now, that doesn't mean that she's being unfair. She's not your enemy. It means that her radar works better than yours. When she reacts to something that you said and you can't figure out why, the first move that you need to do is not to defend yourself. You don't need to explain what you meant. Your first move when she calls you out on something is to assume that her system picked up something that was real and accurate. And to ask of yourself, before you ask anything of her, what might she be reading that I am not seeing? What is she noticing that I'm not? Let me give you 3 specific categories of information that her system is producing. 3 things that her vigilance is probably telling you if you'll just pay attention. These are not the only categories, but they're the most common, and they're the most diagnostic ones that we see. Number 1, inconsistency. If her vigilance spikes around a specific situation, maybe it's a particular time of day or a particular kind of conversation or a particular topic, it's usually because her system has detected a small inconsistency. You may not have noticed that inconsistency. She did. So the first question is not, why is she reacting? The first question is this: what is the inconsistency that she is seeing that I'm not? Number 2, tone shifts. Her system reads your tone before it actually processes your words. If your tone changes, if it becomes more short or distant or quick or performative, her system registers that before her mind does. She may not even be able to label what changed, but her body knows something just changed. If you find yourself thinking that she's reacting to nothing, slow down. Ask whether your tone shifted in a way that you were not even conscious of. I know this one's hard because most of you do not have a developed practice of noticing your own behavior in the moment. It means slowing down enough to ask, what does my voice sound like right now? Is it warmer or cooler than it was 5 minutes ago? Did something just happen internally that I did not register, but my body is broadcasting it to her and she's picking it up accurately? Number 3, this is the most important one: the return of an old pattern. Her system is super dialed in to the specific architecture of your prior deception. If anything you do, and I mean anything, reminds her body of how the deception used to feel, her system will activate. That is her body protecting her against a pattern that hurt her severely the first time. The patterns are specific to your prior deception. So I can't list all of them right now generically, but I can name the categories. Patterns like when you came home, how you used to use your phone, how you talked about certain people, certain trips, certain colleagues, patterns of where your attention drifted in conversation, and a host of other patterns. Each of those, if it returns even in a softer form, it will activate her system, and it should. I want to be careful here because I can hear the thought that's already forming inside some of you men. So, are you saying I'm supposed to read her mind? I'm supposed to anticipate every trigger? Am I supposed to walk on eggshells forever? No, that's not what I'm asking. I'm not asking you to anticipate every trigger she has. You don't need to walk on eggshells. You don't need to perform every time you interact with her. What I'm simply saying is I'm asking you to develop a different capacity. The capacity to receive her vigilance as information rather than an accusation. There is an enormous difference between those two things. And they can make all the difference in the world. The man who is performing safety is exhausting himself, trying to anticipate what will set her off so he can pre-manage it. That is image management that is dressed up as recovery. That is a man still oriented around how he appears to her rather than around who he actually is. Her system is going to read that. It will read it as the same architecture that's in a different costume. The man who's developing integrity is doing something different. He's not trying to prevent the vigilance from happening. He's becoming the kind of man who can receive the vigilance when it happens. He's becoming the kind of man who does not need her system to be quiet in order for him to feel okay about himself. Her system will read that too. When you receive her vigilance as accusation, what are you going to do? You're going to defend every single time. When you defend, what are you communicating to her? What you're telling her system is that the deception is still in place, because defensiveness was a core feature of that system. So when you receive her vigilance as accusation, you defend. When you receive her vigilance as information, you slow down. And you ask, what is her system picking up on? I'm going to take this seriously. And her system, over months, begins to read that response. It registers it. Her system updates, you could say. That's how vigilance recalibrates. Not through your words, not through your reassurance, not through your frustration and your defensiveness, and not through you trying harder to convince her to trust you. The only thing that speaks to her nervous system is consistent, demonstrated behavior across time and under stress. That's what registers with her. I want to call out two mistakes that come up regularly around this material. And if I don't call them out, they're going to quietly undermine the work that the men are doing. Mistake number one, treating vigilance reduction as the goal. Some of you came into this episode hoping that I was going to tell you how to make her vigilance go away, or at least get quieter, faster, sooner. I'm not going to do that. The timeline is not under anyone's control. Her timeline is downstream of conditions around her, conditions of safety, integrity, consistency that are present over a long enough period of time that her system recalibrates and updates and her vigilance lowers. If those conditions aren't there, it doesn't happen, and it shouldn't. Treating vigilance reduction as your goal turns your recovery into a performance. Men start performing transparency in ways that are designed to be observed rather than emerging from his authentic self, an internal change. That's not safety, and she can sense it. That's pseudo-safety. And partners, your nervous system will know the difference. You can trust it. It will not be fooled by his performance. Men, if you find yourself trying to make her vigilance go away faster, that is the signal that you actually need to slow down, not speed up. You need to ask instead, what are the underlying conditions in her environment coming from me, and are they actually changing? There's a second mistake, making her vigilance her problem to manage. This one is one of the most common, and it's one of the most damaging that we could possibly do. There's a pattern, I see it all the time, where her vigilance gets pathologized in a way that turns it into something that she needs to manage. She gets told to work on her issues. She gets told to manage her anxiety better. She gets sent to a therapist, sometimes by the same man whose deception produced the vigilance in the first place. And she is sent to work on her response to what he did. That is a structural inversion of where the work belongs. Her vigilance is the appropriate response. The deception is the cause. The work primarily rests with the cause, not the effect. Partners absolutely benefit from stabilization support, from trauma-informed care, from their own coaching and therapy. Absolutely. But the purpose of that support is to take care of the system that's doing the work, not to manage the vigilance into being quiet so that he doesn't have to feel it. Those are not the same goal. Men, if you find yourself thinking that your partner needs to get her vigilance under control because our relationship can't move forward, that is a tell. It is a tell that you're trying to relocate the work. The true work is not located in her response. The real work is located in the conditions that produced the response, and those are in your lane, not hers. For betrayed partners, I want to mention a practice. Get a notebook, and when your vigilance spikes, when something he said, something he didn't do, some kind of inconsistency, a tone, a behavior, anything produces a body response inside of you, do not try to talk yourself out of it. And don't act on it immediately. But I want you to write down 3 things when that happens. Number 1, what just happened? Be as factual as you can. Describe it. Number 2, what my body did in response. What did I feel? Number 3, what is my system reading? Do not decide what to do with it in the moment. Don't figure out whether you're right. Just record it. Over time, 2 things are going to happen. First, you're going to start to see patterns. Your system is picking up on it. And it's real. And now you can label it more clearly. Second, you can stop being at the mercy of every spike because you have a place to put it. For the men, I want you to actually do this, not understand it. I want you to do it. When your partner has a vigilant spike, when she reacts, when she asks a hard question, when her volume raises, when something in her body shifts, you have one job within the next 60 seconds. Slow down. Slow down. Take a breath, a real one, and internally ask yourself, what might her system be sensing right now? Because it's probably right. When you speak to her, ask her one question before saying anything else. Help me understand what just happened for you. And then, here's the hard part. Listen to her answer without preparing your defense. This is not magic. It's not going to make her vigilance disappear. That's not the purpose. It's not designed for that. This exercise is designed to do one thing: to signal to her nervous system that you are someone who can receive information without defending against it, without taking it as an accusation. That is the data that she's been waiting for. I want to close with one thought. The vigilance we've been talking about today in this episode, that's not the problem in this work. The vigilance is the most honest part of the work that's happening. Her vigilance is the part that has not been negotiated, performed, or rationalized away. It is the part that is still telling the truth, if you'll listen. Betrayed partners, your vigilance is your competence. It's the part of you that survived. Your work is not to silence it. Your work is to give it conditions that are worthy of it. Men, her vigilance is not a problem to solve, and it's not your enemy. Her vigilance is the most accurate feedback loop you will ever have access to about whether you're really changing or not. So it's not your job to manage it. The work you need to do is to become the kind of man whose behavior over time gives her vigilance less and less to do. And I think I'm just going to leave it at that for today.
Thank you for listening to Joy Recovery Radio. If today's episode was helpful, you can find additional educational resources and information about the Joy Recovery Academy and our private coaching at joy-recovery.com. Remember, joy is possible when you live in integrity.